Hello everybody, this is Richie from the Metal Cell podcast. I'm delighted to welcome Eternal Helcaraxe to the show. I've got Praetorian and Tyrith with me, who are the vocals and guitars and drums of the band. Is that correct, lads?
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to the show, lads. I'm delighted to have you on.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm sporting my Bad Reputation t-shirt.
Yeah, I noticed that, all right, yeah.
And you played Siege.
Yeah, we did, yeah. It was the last band on the Friday night.
Yes, that was it, yeah. How
I think
did it go for you?
there, actually.
Yeah. It was a brilliant celebration of metal music again, as only the lads can host it.
Yeah, 2 days this time as well, which was
Badly
pretty good,
needed.
like, you know.
Badly needed, wasn't it? For all of us, like, just to get the spirits up.
Oh yeah, lockdown was tough, I think, on everybody, you know. It just like messed with our heads where we never thought it could, you know, in different ways. Like,
yes,
it was
very true.
Very, very, very strange times, like, you know.
Yeah.
Actually, it's even thinking about it now, it's like a blur.
Isn't
like it's
it
like
weird?
It didn't even happen, like, you know. And to think it's only like a few months ago, really, if you think about it. What was it, January it lifted or whatever?
Yeah, it was just the whole uncertainty of it. But like seeing your name on the bill for the Siege, what did that do for you?
Oh, it done a lot, like, because I think during lockdown for a lot of bands, people really didn't know whether bands were still going or not, or what was happening with bands, or, you know, bands didn't even know what to do themselves. Like, and you
Come
know,
on the podcast. That's what they did.
Yeah, that's what you do. But yeah, it was just it was great to just even put once the poster went up, like, lots of people were messaging and stuff saying like, oh geez, I'm glad to see you are still going, like, because there was quite a lot of bands like kind of packed it in, or just, you know, even like, sure, you couldn't even record really or anything unless you were doing kind of home recordings and stuff like that. And I'm not really a big fan of that for professional albums, you know.
Right.
So
okay,
you know, we done like a lot of the kind of demo versions of all the songs just to make sure we're happy, you know, because obviously with just one guitarist at the moment, you know, it was easier to just layer everything, you know, as we were kind of going in the house, you know.
Yeah.
But it was only really when lockdown ended kind of thing that we could actually go in and properly record the album.
Yeah, so we'll get to that, but I just kind of want to bring you back to the Siege in relation to maybe deciding on a set list first of all, and how many rehearsals had you before you hit the stage that Friday night?
It's not that many, actually. We threw it together pretty quick.
Yeah, that was a real slap up job, like, you know. It was kind of like just. Yeah, we wanted to kind of get as much of the new songs on it as possible, like, you know. Yeah. But even with that, like, I think there was only like 3 out of 6, I think. Okay. I think anyway, right. You know. So it was kind of like, yeah. And rehearsing, I mean, we mostly rehearsed on like the electric kit, like with the amps quite low, you know, because it was pretty much the only way we could really rehearse at the time. So it was a bit like
did all of you make the rehearsals? Was Oceans with you right through that as well?
Yeah, he was with us as well. So yeah, like, luckily we all live like really close kind of thing, you know, like we're like a 10-minute walk from each other kind of thing. So
that's
it works out grand, you know, in that sense, you know.
So flying the flag for Cavan.
Yeah.
Just in case anybody didn't know. It's got a rich music history, Cavan. Some good guys there came through. So
no, that's it. Yeah, like there's always kind of musicians popping up and playing in different bands and stuff like that.
There is, yeah. Because I mean, I was talking to Ronan there. He gave me the heads up about you, Ronan from 10 Ton Slug, obviously, and he told me that you have a new recording about to release, and I was going, oh, that's class. And he just goes, will you just ask the lads, even though they're from Dublin, how did they move to Cavan? So if you don't mind, for Ronan, just fill in that side of the podcast for him, maybe.
You can get this one.
No, the family just moved up years ago and came along with it to see what it was like up here and ended up settling. Right.
And you moved from Swords, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And what age were you then, lads?
Yeah, he was about 16 or 17, I think. I was around that age, you know.
I was around 18 then.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a big move for you, like.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a sharp contrast. First of all, socially, I would imagine, just.
Yeah. Well, Swords in general was a small town, kind of, when we were there. You know, You know, it used to be separate to the airport. These days, nearly it's a part of the airport. It's just after swallowing that all the fields that were in between, you know. So it was pretty much a smallish town when we were there, you know. So even though you were quite close to Dublin, it was still kind of had that small town kind of feel to it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I was working in Swords, so I know about it because I was living in Rathfarnham. So I had to commute from Rathfarnham to Swords every day, man. It was a fucking nightmare on that M50. So I agree. Yeah, it was a small town, but now it's just kind of been sucked into the whole.
Kind of in every direction as well. It's just like, you know, the amount of even companies setting up buildings there and stuff is just nuts compared to what it was, you know.
Yeah. So ye were into metal, I presume, at that early age. 17, 18.
Yeah. It was earlier again.
Yeah. Jeez, I think like the first album I got was like Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. I was only about 7 or 8 at that stage, and it just got kind of heavier and heavier since then, like, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so it was.
There's John Kenny on 2FM. There's Headbangers Ball on MTV.
Of course,
Back when we were growing up, there was actually a better selection of shows and radio to listen to for metal.
There was. You're spot on. Yeah.
So I used to sit there every night with Headbangers Ball, recording my favorite videos on tape and stuff, and our noisy mothers as well. No.
Yeah, I remember getting the full like Megadeth's Euthanasia album, like, because it was #1 for so long. Like, I think I recorded every single song off the radio when it was on, like, you know, with the old tape decks, you know, you push down the 2 buttons down, you know, and that's pretty much how we got all our music. Like, you heard like even bands like At the Gates and stuff like that for the first time on there.
Dayside and everything.
Dayside,
when you think of it, like, I mean, even like getting those albums, not to mind trying to think about trying to see them, but just getting the albums alone, and then suddenly, you know, you're looking at Dublin and these bands are starting to trickle through more often, and the scene starts rising then suddenly. And, you know, I mean, I was on to Pat Clancy, shout out to Pat. He posted obituaries, not Slowly We Rot, but Cause of Death today. And he said that's like 32 years old, I think. And I was
there going, scary, isn't it?
It is scary, yeah, because me and Pat were at them in Nancy Spain's, like.
Yeah.
It's mental, like, lads. It's just like a blur of the way life just goes on suddenly. And but like when you had the likes of Obituary coming to Cork, that changed it for everybody, you know.
Yeah, I'd say so though. Yeah,
it opened it up big time. Because us lads had never had the money to get across to London or festivals to see these guys.
Yeah.
So
no, it was even. Remember, even like back in the day, like you'd buy an album and your friend would buy an album, and the two of you buy like fucking tapes, and you'd be recording, like, because 45-minute albums fitted perfectly on one side of a 90-minute tape, so you'd have 2 albums on each tape. But
correct.
But back in the day, like, that's what you had to do, like, because nobody could afford albums as well. Like, they were pretty expensive, kind of by the amount of money that you were kind of could make or whatever compared to the price of them, you know.
Yeah, and to know what they still are.
Yeah, that's it, like, you know.
So what bands were you in at the time? Had you formed any bands in Dublin, or was that later when you moved to Cavan, you kind of...
Well, there was we moved to Wexford for a little while in between, actually, you know, just from when we were in our teens kind of thing, you know. And we kind of played in a few bands, but nothing really worth kind of mentioning as such, you know, like, you know, but yeah, it was mostly just kind of, I don't know, just like mostly just Slayer covers and stuff like that, Metallica covers and this kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Sepultura covers as well. I think that was about the height of. I can't actually think of any of the other bands, but yeah.
And were both of you always guitars, drums, or?
Yeah, pretty much actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I played bass a little bit here and there, but not really, kind of thing, you know.
So how did Primal Dawn, that venture, work out, or?
Yeah, Jesus, great actually. You know, the time in that band was brilliant. You know, really enjoyed it. Like, you know, and
how did you meet the lads, or?
It was actually, I was living with Paddy Kennedy at the time. You know, in Dublin. We're sharing an apartment and stuff, and he needed a guitarist for a gig or whatever, I think it was. Or no, it was actually, I was living with Niall Dolan, who was in Sinister Demise as well, you know.
Cool.
So I ended up, Sinister Demise needed a guitarist, you know, at the time. So I kind of filled in for a while with him. And then yeah, then it was kind of Paddy asked me kind of, do I want to be the guitarist in Primal Dawn? And yeah, I kind of just said, yeah, fuck it, why not? Like, you know, biggest problem, I can't say fucking no to these things. I just say, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, but that's pretty much how it all started, you know. And then just we kind of start writing stuff, and brought out, what was it called, Zealot as well. And yeah, then from then it was just like loads of gigging and stuff like that, you know.
And a great scene back then.
Yeah, oh, it really was. Yeah, there was some quality bands like, you know, Mass Extinction and stuff. There was a few bands like that I used to love seeing live. Like, they always put on such a show, such high energy kind of gigs.
Yeah, they're always name checked on the show, especially with the lads Corey and Jason, for example. Now they'd name check them a bit. And what about drumming for you, Tyrith? Were you in other bands?
Not really, not in the metal scene. I do a lot of other work, kind of cover band work and wedding work and stuff like that. So that's always kind of kept me busy.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, unfortunately, not in the metal scene, not as much as I'd like.
So when did you decide then to kickstart Eternal Helcaraxe?
How many years ago now?
Jesus, yeah, it was a long while ago. Jesus.
I think your demo was out in 2008, would you believe?
Yeah, the first demo was 2008, and I remember it was even nearly like 4 years before that. Like, we were kind of talking about it and writing riffs and stuff like that, but like, just everyone was so insanely busy all the time. It was impossible to get like anything going, kind of thing, you know, between everybody. And I lived in Dublin and the lads lived in Cavan, and it was all over the shop. But it was only about 2007 we actually kind of got together, properly wrote it, released it, and then everything kind of started. We kind of start getting more gigs and stuff like that, and then from then it was just like, yeah, it was really from like the Two Will Ever End album onward, or release onwards, that things really started kicking off, you know.
Yeah, and Praetorian, then you obviously had a load of contacts in Dublin on that, in relation to that scene. So
yeah,
you probably got a lot of help, maybe with studio time, and
it was mostly gigs and stuff like that. Like Dara from Invictus, especially H as well.
Nice one.
And yeah, like Peter that works with DME as well, like, you know, of course, we're very good friends with him, you know. Yeah. Between like a couple of the guys and stuff like that, we ended up just like playing loads of kind of loads of bands that you would have listened to for years and stuff like that, and you would never have even thought of like they'd even come to Ireland, let alone play with them and stuff like that. So that was really exciting, you know, like bands like Shining and stuff like that, you know, like that, like
they were a big influence, I'd say,
you know. Yeah, 1349, and you know, like loads of bands like that, like, you know, it was just great to even just see them live, let alone play with them at the time and stuff like that. So it was great, yeah, in that sense, you know.
And I mean, looking back at that time, what about, we'll say, travelling? Did you do much travelling outside of Dublin for gigs? I know you played Urban Assault, but that was a good bit later on.
Yeah. There wasn't really, actually. We played Cork once, I think, with Shining, wasn't it? And other than that, there was like Edinburgh and stuff. But there was a few gigs like that, you know.
UK gigs, like.
Yeah. And a few shows like that, you know. But then again, like, it was one of those things that we're always like, again, we're always so busy, like, with everything that was going on in life, you know. Like, it was it was kind of one of those things that, like, it was there was always such a big gap between our releases and stuff like that, and you know, even gigs and stuff like that for us, you know. It's only in the last kind of couple of years that life is actually quieting down a bit for most of us, you know, which is kind of nuts, like, because we've been going for a while now, you know.
Yeah, and was it just the time old story of like balancing work and music and family?
Yeah.
Okay. So we all fell into that trap.
Unlucky with bass players over the years as well.
Yeah, that's true as well. Like,
so
you know,
to keep steady members was an issue as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like it was always like it was always kind of bouncing between bass players for a while there as well, like, and stuff like that. And it was kind of like every time you'd have a good run, someone else would leave, and you'd kind of have to pick everything back up again. And that happened quite a lot, kind of on and off. So it was kind of a bit starty stoppy as well, like, you know.
Yeah, and like the whole idea then of just self-producing and getting your own stuff out there and being in control of your own music, was that really important for you, or were you trying to get a record label?
I always felt it was anyway. Like, I would have way rather just bring something out that I loved rather than anyone else loved, you know. Okay. Like, I'm kind of always my number one biggest fan when it comes to like the albums, you know. So I'd always just rather write stuff that I really, really like, and 10 people listen to it than to become like, you know, one of these huge bands that you're playing stuff that you're not interested in playing at all, you know.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, you'd be looking at Primordial there and seeing how well they've done all over Europe, yet they can't even get radio play in Ireland, which is mental. Yeah,
it's insane. Yeah, we're actually only saying that, like, even with the, you know, with Spotify, you can kind of see who's listening to you from which countries and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and
it's always never Ireland. Like, you know, there's like, we get a handful of listens to in Ireland, but it's mostly like, you know, Germany. And America and Finland and Mexico for some reason as well.
Massive scene in Mexico, yes. There is.
It's just we seem to get a lot of hits from there as well, like, and stuff like that. So it's always but you kind of get used to that as well. Like, you know, you kind of know at this stage that, like, you know, that's kind of the way it is. So. But yeah, it's like Primordial would be, there was a great article with Alan in one of the newspaper at one stage that he was talking about that, and he kind of knocked the nail in the head pretty well, like, you know.
Yeah, like you know, they're just not represented. There. It's crazy.
It's amazing to see, like, even though, you know, the gigs selling out though, you know, like the past good few gigs they've played here, you know, they have sold out and stuff like that. So at least there is. You know, there is a big
kind
following
of moved
here,
into this kind of legacy type of band now, isn't it? Really,
yeah, like, that's true enough. Yeah,
it's strange, like, because I mean, we went to see him in Limerick with Death the Leveller, and Brigantia. The three of them played in Dolan's. Man, what a gig, lads! It was so good, and a lot of the old heads came out for it, which was great.
Yeah,
it made for some brilliant conversations throughout the night. Whereas a lot of these lads wouldn't normally support the metal scene in general, locally, but when Primordial are in town, they're going.
It's always great to see, though, it's like, I find that actually what you just said there about, like, great conversations, I find that since lockdown as well. Like, I've been at a load of gigs over the past kind of couple of months and stuff like that, and you just keep running into these people that you haven't seen in about 3 or 4 years, kind of thing, and you're nearly talking through the band you couldn't wait to see for like the past 3 weeks. I know,
it's a delicate balancing act, isn't it?
It's nuts the way it's gone, like, you know.
Yeah.
You're just trying to fit in so much conversations, you know, and like, I'm desperate with phones and stuff like that, like, you know, I don't really use them at all, to be honest with you. So, you know, it's usually face to face I do all my talking, you know.
Yeah, and of course there's a band playing in the background, but again, how would you meet these people? You see, that's the problem. Like, it's just, you're trying to. Siege was a great example of everybody just coming together, and I would say a lot of bands that were playing probably didn't have the audience they expected, because everybody's fucking nattering out in the smoking room going, Jesus, I haven't seen you in ages, what's the crack? And
there's been a lot of that, like, you know, especially in Dolan's, because there's so many parts to Dolan's, do you know what I mean? Like, there's there's the upstairs, you know, and it does get a bit kind of like, you could lose someone for fucking 40 minutes in there, like, you know, and they'll be right beside you, do you know, that kind of way. So
and you know, I'm just interested there when you were saying with Spotify, when did you more or less kind of accept that digital side of music is now the norm? Can you remember a certain point or a conversation you both had when, fuck it, lads, we'll have to...
Yeah, it's kind of something that just kind of crept on me, and then all of a sudden it was just something you nearly couldn't live without then, because you're just like, you're finding out so much new bands all the time and this type of stuff, you know. But yeah, it was one of those things that crept up on me over the space of a few years maybe, and then all of a sudden, you couldn't live without it now. It's like just the way it is, I suppose. But it wasn't an overnight thing anyway, you know.
No, because like you're old school like me. I mean, we have to have our physical stuff, you know, in our hands, you know, to buy the CD, the cassette, even now, which is making a comeback, or vinyl, obviously. But I mean, I'm just wondering, like, for a band like yourselves, you know, which album maybe was the one that you went, right, we mightn't have physical copies of this, it'll only be digital. Was there a conversation like that?
The In Times of Desperation album, I think, was the big one.
Yeah, 2017.
Yeah, just I always always promote with the kind of releases a certain way, and you push things and you'd send off, you know, emails to magazines and stuff like that. But it was really that album that I realized that just everything had changed, you know, and you kind of had to reteach yourself how to, you know, kind of, you know, even a lot of the old black metal zines and stuff like that were well dead at that stage. And, you know, like a lot of the old contacts that you would have had they were well gone at that point and stuff like that, you know. And it was really around that one that, like, I learned a lot of mistakes. So this time around for this album, I reapproached the whole kind of how to actually promote an album completely different, you know, to what, you know, I would have ever done before, you know.
Did you ask maybe some bands for advice in relation to how to approach it differently, or did you?
I just watched a lot of YouTube videos on how to promote your band.
Perfectly fine, yeah.
And like there was really spent a good bit of time just like in the evenings just watching videos on how to promote your band, and then articles on articles on my phone and stuff like that on Google. Kind of. That's a good thing about it, I suppose. All this stuff is just so available to you all the time, you know, that you can just check this stuff up like whenever you want, really, you know. So it's just collecting a lot of information and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
I
presume you were still emailing maybe record labels as well with your music.
Yeah, we were actually happy with the label that we were on for the last album, you know. They'd done a good bit for us the last time, so we kind of I would have rather brought it out with him. And then when we were talking, I sent him an email and the two of us were chatting about it, and he was perfectly happy to release this one as well, because he sent him the album and he really liked it, and so it just kind of went from there, you know.
Is this Nocturmac in Finland?
Yeah.
Of course, she signed with them in 2017, right?
Yeah, it would have been. It would have been around then, or 2016, I think, wasn't it? Yeah, and there was like And
there's a lot of bands on the roster as well. Good variety of it, but predominantly black metal, I'd imagine.
Yeah. There's even like it's really kind of. The atmosphere in a lot of the albums that he releases and stuff like that are incredible, you know. Like it's kind of like even something as simple as even the artworks and stuff like that of the albums I love, you know. It's that kind of stuff that I always kind of go for anyway. So so we kind of slot on perfectly in that bill, like, you know. We definitely seem to fit perfectly with all the style of bands that he releases, you know.
And would you have a lot of contact with maybe fans from Finland, or is it, or those Norway, mostly, that side?
Mostly kind of Germany and stuff like that at the moment, you know. A couple in England as well and stuff like that. But then again, you know yourself, doing it this long, you just kind of gather up people over the years, you know. Like you just end up friends everywhere, you know.
Yeah. And then the approach to this album, Drown in Ash. When did you start writing for it? Was it during lockdown maybe, or?
It would have been, wouldn't it?
Probably even before. We had started some before.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds about right, actually. Yeah, it would have been, probably a bit before lockdown we started writing it, And, yeah.
So did you kind of do the music first of all, and then had you... Praetorian, I know that you like poetry as well as reading books and stuff. So had you a lot of stuff wrote that you were trying to match up with music, or what way do you work?
No, it was kind of the complete opposite, really. Like I wrote all that, nearly all the lyrics for this whole album was wrote completely separate to Helcaraxe. It was supposed to be really nothing to do with Helcaraxe whatsoever, you know.
Okay.
But it was like when I was writing a lot of the lyrics and stuff like that, like the older style lyrics that I would have wrote for the album, I just was pretty much just getting nothing out of them. It was just doing nothing for me. Like it wasn't in any way kind of.
Were those lyrics more fantasy based?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
kind of more battle kind of fantasy kind of, you know, like little tricklets of history or whatever, you know, and yeah, like but yeah, like the lyrics were kind of wrote completely separate altogether, you know. There was a conversation with my friend where I was saying like where they were saying like I was thinking like these would be actually probably work as lyrics, and you know she was saying like, you know, well, why don't you just use them as lyrics then? And the more it took a couple of months to decide whether to do it or not.
Okay.
And then once I did decide, I kind of went with it then, you know.
Yeah, because I mean, it is a bit of a departure in relation to your older stuff. And
Yeah.
I suppose it's more personal for you as well.
Yeah. I think lockdown done that to all of us,
Yeah.
really. Made us look a bit too much inwards.
And so had you decided then on where you were going to engineer it and mix and master it? Had you an idea?
Yeah. Jono, he's a good friend of mine. He like playing in a different play with Building Prisons with him. He's the bass player and he has his own studio in Cavan, you know.
Oh, right,
And,
okay.
yeah, we ended up doing recordings with him before kind of thing and all. And then with like different bands and stuff like with Building Prisons and with Helcaraxe. And with this album, I just kind of loved the way he worked and stuff like that. Really laid back, like, you know, I'd highly recommend him for anyone who's looking to record, really, to be honest with you. He's just a brilliant at what he does, you know.
Yeah,
And,
I think he's produced a band called Dirtbird. They were.
That's right. Yeah, he's actually the bass player in that band. Yeah.
Okay, because we did one of their songs on the forums, gave them a shout out. They look pretty cool. I was watching their video a few months back. They recorded it live in a kind of like a sunroom or something, or conservatory. Yeah. But that's them then. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it kind of has a kind of a, what would you say, like a
Fate No More.
Yeah,
that's Chili Peppers. Yeah,
that kind of thing, like kind of a bit quite busy in places as well, like quite technical as well, you know.
So that's John then. So he's doing. He did all that album free.
Yeah.
Wow, he did some job in it, lads.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And as I said, like he plays bass in Building Prisons as well as Dirtbird, so like I'd know him very well in that, you know, and yeah, no, he just done a fantastic job, like, you know, just like.
And how conscious were you then when you got down to writing the album about maybe your sound? Like, I think having the benefit now of listening to it, you have jumped and progressed a serious amount in relation to the last album, which I thought was fantastic anyway. But like, geez, this is special. This one, I really think it's.
Thanks very much.
After listening to it now for how many 5 or 6 days, like I really think it's a contender for one of the albums of the year for me in the Irish metal scene. So fair play to you, lads.
Yes, that's brilliant. Thanks very much.
No, honestly, and so I was just intrigued, like in relation to then, we'll say, looking at in times of desperation and to the jump that you made with this one. What was the thought process behind it?
It was very kind of. It was more.
The music kind of decided it too. It's slightly, I don't say simpler, more straightforward, but
yeah.
Was there a conscious decision to make it more simple?
No, the songs just ended up that way, but I think the sound dictated that too.
Right.
So yeah, Jono helped a lot with shaping the sound.
Right. Okay.
Obviously, we wrote songs, but he helped with shaping the sound. Like, but
there was like, I kind of really wanted to go for more of an icier kind of style guitar for this one as well. Kind of fat at the bottom, but kind of sharper as well. So it's a bit more like almost the two guitars layered almost drowned each other out in places. But that's kind of almost what I was looking for. Right. Just, you know, not separate notes, but more just of a wall of sound. Like, you know, more like kind of post-rock bands that I was listening to a lot of them at the time.
Very much comes through it, yes.
Yeah, like bands like This Will Destroy You and these kind of bands, like, been listening to was a serious amount of those over the years, you know, and I really wanted to really capture that kind of wall of sound with kind of like, you know.
With a lot of emotion through it as well, like.
Yeah. Especially one thing I feel that we never really done properly before, and we done it. I feel like we've done it on this album kind of properly. It was like letting the quiet bits be really, really, really quiet, and then like the louder bits being when things kick back in, being really explosive. You know, that was a big thing that like I felt that we never done quiet bits right, and I just wanted to kind of really do that properly this time as well. You know.
Oh, you definitely achieved that, because sometimes bands just like, because there's always the question of originality, isn't there, and the influences of new music, and what do you do? Like, do you stay true to your own sound, or do you develop more? And like, that's what I was wondering in relation to the new album. Was there conversations about, are we gone too far?
No, never really, to be honest with you. It was very much like
organic,
yeah, we always just write what we want to write, like, you know, and I know it's like fucking kind of selfish for people that followed us for years, or, you know, really wanted to hear the same stuff as we done before, but we tend to just really write what we really like to listen to, you know, and we have such a vast like styles of music that we both listen to and stuff like that, that it was very easy to kind of go like, you know, oh, I'm looking for a guitar sound, you know, like such and such a band, and and then we even something as simple as drum fills and stuff like that. It was kind of like we could really kind of say, oh, like, I like the way this is very explosive, but it loses it here, so why don't we do something more like, you know?
Yeah.
It was really for the songs, like, yeah.
And were all three of you involved right through?
Yeah, from the very beginning,
Class. So I'm going to play the first song off the album. It's called Withered Strands of Existence. I'm just going to play a clip off it. And you might talk us through maybe a small bit of it then at the end of it.
Yeah, sure.
These lyrics here, and to rewrite those dreadful chapters, but the works have been printed. I'll settle for less, I'll settle for less, I'll settle for now. And the way, when you say that last few words there, I'll settle for now, the way the song sweeps you away with that music is fantastic, the way we planned that. So maybe just talk about that.
Yeah, that was very, very much planned. And the next bit, the bit with the music there, especially like it was a kind of an idea I had at the kind of halfway through the writing, where I wrote keyboard parts, and we said like, let's just replace all the keyboard parts in the whole album with vocal patterns, you know, and layered, loads and loads of layered kind of vocal patterns, you know, so those kind of clean vocals. That's Ocean's clean vocals there you're hearing, you know. It was a plan to just kind of get rid of all the kind of keyboards off the album and just replace them with like kind of the clean vocals, you know. So I think it really kind of worked well, you know, with the layering of the guitars and stuff like that as well. And
it's a fantastic opening track. That was always going to be the opening track. I kind of have to ask that.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that was kind of the plan actually from the beginning, I think, yeah.
And the opening piano is lovely as well. It just sets the tone and then off it goes then.
Yeah.
You don't suffer from tennis elbow, Tyrith, no?
Sorry?
Tyrith, you don't suffer from tennis elbow or any ailments?
Oh, thankfully not.
Jesus Christ, the drumming is outrageous in some of this.
In a good way.
In a great way, Jesus Christ. So the next song, Drowned in Ash, it's the title track as well. Why that title?
It was just this kind of idea, you know, that I was kind of come up with, and when I was writing kind of the poem originally, like it was kind of this idea of like, you know, you're kind of living with so much regret and not being able to, you know, you're looking back in your life and it's just the fantastic life that you thought you had really wasn't. And, you know, the friends you thought were there are kind of gone and stuff like that, you know. So the idea of Drowned in Ash was this kind of idea of someone kind of going through a book of memories, or, you know, a book of kind of their life.
Yeah.
And it kind of, kind of going in flames in front of them and them, you know, kind of choking on the ashes off it, basically. That was the kind of idea that I was going for, you know. And the same with the front cover of the album was the same kind of thing, you know. But that was the kind of where it originally came from. But I think I only ended up using that Drowned in Ash line and I scrapped the rest of it, you know. I kind of just wrote completely different lyrics kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, because I mean, you're dealing with mental health in it here, because it says barely clutching to these diminished strands of stability with nothing but a broken mind with no basis to resume while my mental health declines. So yeah, so that's fairly personal. And I'm sure a lot of people can understand where you're coming from with that, and the music then that's just carrying it through is pretty powerful. So we'll play it here. So this is Drowned in Ash. So hard just to play clips off. You've no idea how hard it is just to get a little section of it, like, because there's so many great bits going on. That melodic bass line running through it is fantastic right through that.
Yeah, the bass lines were so busy, but yeah, very simple but so busy, like, you know, Ocean done an amazing job at those, you know, like and
the noise,
you know, it's like I think there's not enough bass players that really take advantage of what's going on, you know, the space in between the chord changes and stuff.
Yeah, I most bands you see have probably two guitarists.
Yeah.
You know, and they kind of get lost in the sound sometimes, which is a pity. But I mean, certainly not in this album. And I'm a bass player myself, and I just love that right through. The ending of that song is so cool as well, with the kind of Gregorian like chanting.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, that was originally a keyboard part that was kind of just completely rewrote to do with the vocals, basically. Because that idea of just layering the vocals instead of just using, because keyboards, they can be quite lifeless sometimes, but the layered vocals, I think, they just add this another huge kind of wall of emotion to the songs,
And that's exactly it, a wall of emotion. But again, it's not an obvious thing that you put in that chanting at the end. Can you remember why you did that?
It was just,
it just naturally came about.
Yeah, it was just really
I always kind of knew, well, like you said, it was a keyboard piece first.
Okay.
Well, once we got the idea to do vocals and a keyboard, so it grew on itself.
Yeah, love
it.
It
just became a natural progression, like.
Yeah.
And one of the three of us was kind of like, oh yeah, no, do this layer. Oh no, that doesn't work. Yeah, try this one. Yeah, that works. And there was a lot of that as well, like it was like, we're jumping around like children here trying to get, trying to get it right,
Just the building blocks of the song.
Yeah, exactly, and but absolutely thrilled with the way it ended up sounding.
Yeah, oh fuck it, big time. The next song is Where the Dead Things Are, and that's the single. Is it?
Yeah.
Was it the obvious choice?
It was possibly the only song that would have worked as a single, like out of all the songs,
Oh, I don't know about that. I disagree. Go on anyway. Tell me why.
Yeah, I just it just had a bit of everything in it, and it was fast and punchy at the start, and it kind of grabbed the listener's attention, and but it's always hard because the whole album was nearly wrote as a song, supposed to separate songs. Do you know what I mean? It was nearly wrote as kind of one journey from start to finish.
Right. Okay.
And so trying to pick one song was close to impossible. It was either Ice Cold Winds or Where the Dead Things Roam Free. And I think that just won, really, didn't it? Like, it was Yeah,
and again, there's some fantastic melodies through it and tempo changes. So I'm going to play it there, and I'll just talk to you then a small bit about the lyrics. Okay, so this is Where the Dead Things Roam Free. Incredible, lads. That's some song, in fairness. Again, perfect marriage of the clean vocals and the harsh vocals.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, black dead fingers grips me and drags me as the cold earth comforts me, yet smothers me. And the clean vocals, I think, then add to that despair, a long incense for black slumber, a shipwreck devoured by a desolate sea, to exist without reason and take my place where dead things roam free.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well done, man. Great lyrics as well.
No, thanks a million.
Yeah. Can you remember vividly how that whole section fitted in and then bringing the clean vocals, which I presume are Ocean's, is it?
Oh, those vocals there were my ones that time. Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay.
Most of the clean vocals actually were his,
right.
That particular one was mine that time, yeah.
So maybe just talk about why you swapped.
Oh, well, we just kind of went with it, really, yeah. It was just kind of a decision at the time, like, because...
whoever sounded better for whatever part.
Yeah, that was pretty much it, yeah. It was, yeah. It's always just about, like, bringing out using the absolute best thing that you can, to get the point across. And, I think even, geez, if you wrote a song that just had guitars and bass and the drums made it sound worse, I'd just leave the drums out. I wouldn't kind of fit it in just to make it work or whatever, So I just think it was just the best choice at the time, really. I think that was the decision.
I mean, you've got 2,132 views of it up to today on YouTube.
That's mental.
It's only a week.
Yeah, it's only a week. Fucking hell, that's mental.
It is, yeah. It's fantastic. So people are getting to hear it, man. And I love the picture. Who did the picture of the wolf on the?
Oh, that's Tyrith.
All right. Okay. Did you take that picture?
Actually, nearly all the photography off the album was nearly taken off him. Like, it was kind of dark, desolate woods and black and white photos.
Yeah.
It was loads of photos that he was taken as he was going out walking his dog and stuff like that, and like loads of the photos just ended up being so cool. I was kind of like, we should totally use these for the album,
It fits in totally with the black metal kind of template anyway, of woods and wolves and, dark, despairing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, so then we have a little music interlude, maybe... was that just a kind of a bridge to kind of maybe just for the listener to take a breather or what, like, can you remember?
Yeah, it was pretty much, because I felt kind of when we were writing it that the last three songs, they're lyrically and everything were kind of different to the first three songs,
Yeah.
And I kind of felt that, like, it'd be just so cool to kind of have almost split the album in half at the time. We had this whole conversation about it, like, but I was thinking, like, it'd be so cool to just do something really. And at the time we were writing that piano thing anyway, like, we were just dicking around with it. And it was just kind of like, it ended up just being one of those things. It was just like, yeah, like this actually sounds really kind of cool, and it could really, really work in the center of the album.
Yes.
Like, it's kind of dark enough, but it has kind of slightly a positive kind of feel to it as well, ish.
Yeah, as I said, I described it as a bridge between the two sets of songs, on either side, and it's perfect. And I admire you for doing that. It's really, really cool. So the next song then is Ice Cold Winds. I'll give that a play. So hard just to kind of take clips out of each song. They're so good. The BPM of drums, Tyrith, at the start of that, what was it?
Jesus, can't remember at this stage.
That's an impression of it.
Yeah, it
was a fast one.
It was ridiculous.
I think it's the fastest we've ever recorded.
Yeah, I think it was actually.
How do you approach that? Like,
lots and lots of practice. There's no way to cheat that kind of stuff. You just have to do it. So it's just practice.
wow, fucking hell, that's insane. So, and there was no program drums put in at any stage right through the album?
No, it's
It's fucking a testimony to you. Jesus Christ, that's incredible. Because, like, if you did say it, I would be kind of going, fair enough. But, like, Jesus Christ, mental. Okay, so we're coming up now to... Now, there is, at the moment, because it's still early days for me, but, like, where the dead things roam free, it's one of my favourites. But this track, I don't know why, Cease, it's absolutely class. This is a great song for me, and we'll give it a listen. Wait to see that live. Is that going to be one of those ones that are on your live set?
I'd say so, yeah. It's definitely one of the ones that I think was more suited for live, you know? Like, the rest of the songs are so kind of introspective or something like that I think they nearly work better lying at home in your bed, like, you know, that kind of a way. But I think there was something about this song particularly, it just was angry and nasty and dirty, and you know,
I loved it, and it gives me a vibe, and you might laugh at this, but I hear The Mission, the band The Mission.
Oh yeah,
just with the guitar and the bass line going through it as well, and class, love it. And
I know there was loads of bits like the clean kind of the pick and note parts and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I was really thinking like that, like, you know, it'd be great with really slow drums and stuff like that. And that was one that Tyrith decided like, no, we'll just do a skank over it. Like, you know, like, so leave the notes kind of ringing and stuff like that. And like, so I'm barely playing anything and he's just going really bad. It was like, it was just the second I heard it, I was like, oh, that's fucking perfect. Yeah, we'll definitely do that then, you know?
Yeah. And the lyrics are a bit weird, all right, on this one. It's Black Locust spreads his wings, the serpent choir sings, we're in the final years and cease existence. So that's a bit more like your older type lyrics.
This one was, this one was definitely a bit more like older kind of, you know, it was probably the only track on it that it was very much like the old kind of style of lyrics. And as well as that, like this was a perfect example of what I was saying earlier, where we tried it with my vocals and it just turned out like Ocean's kind of more death metal vocals just sounded so much better. So we just said, no, you're singing this song. Yeah. I'll just do the high parts to kind of emphasize the kind of heavier vocals, you know?
Yeah.
But it was a perfect example of that, just going for best thing for the song.
Yes.
Best thing for the album, you know?
And the last track, fucking hell, In Dark Woods and Dreams. What a way to end the album. We'll play it first and maybe you can talk us through it then. So much going on with that as well.
Yeah.
Showcasing all your talents, lads. Absolutely amazing song to end the album. And, you know, those lyrics, like, Jesus, like, I mean, they do hit a part in you that you're kind of going, for a moment I was improving, for a moment I was feeling strong, for a moment I wanted to stay here, and in a moment I lost it all again. So it's that kind of theme running through the album, lyrically wise, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's loss, despair, but there's hope there. Probably playing through the music more than the lyrics.
Yeah. Yeah, that went a bit dark now. A bit darker than we're meant to, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, as I said, it was something that I wasn't really planning to use for Helcaraxe, but then it just kind of worked. So
okay.
Fuck it, you know, just make the best album you can, supposed to.
And the title of the last track, In the Dark Woods and Dreams, maybe just talk.
Yeah, it was just mainly about like those places where you feel safe and you can kind of protect yourself.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, like throughout the lyrics as well, like in that song, like, you know, you're talking about trying to kind of numb yourself and kind of put on a false face to the public, you know,
okay.
And that's kind of what you know, and kind of hide your depression as much as you can.
Mm. Yeah,
I think that's kind of what that song really kind of stemmed from, you know.
Yeah, and then the music then is so uplifting.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah,
brilliant.
It was really kind of like just a lot of the kind of riffs in it were very much really traditional kind of black metal style, like, you know, those kind of bands like kind of early Dark Throne, or like, you know, even some of the Satanic War Master kind of style riffs, and, you know, these kind of bands, you know, that like just that real traditional raw black metal, but just have kind of, again, like a wall of sound, like, and also have kind of the fast skank over it to kind of create that kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, like trancey kind of feeling, I suppose, a real trance kind of feeling to overlaying the whole song as well, you know.
Yeah, and Tyrith, the pace of that particular song, was there any difficult moments for you drumming wise that you were kind of conflicted over?
No, I suppose going from, it's a fairly fast song until the breakdown.
Yes.
But that tempo change, like we've actually played the song live a fair few times now.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the oldest song on the album, knocking around now. So
oh, really?
That tempo change is hard to nail just right, but once you settle into the groove, you just relax into it then.
Yeah. There's Yeah, it was actually that was the first song we played on the Siege of Limerick. Actually, that was the first song we played walking on stage, kind of thing. So it's always good, has good atmosphere to it, really good flow to it as well, and you know, it just kind of works really well live. You know, I think.
Yeah, and playing those tracks live, you will probably need a second guitarist.
Yeah, I'd say so, definitely.
Yeah. So where are ye in relation to that, especially with the release now coming up on the 30th of September?
Yeah.
No real gigs kind of until next year at this stage, I think. So we have a bit of time to find the right person, I think.
Yeah.
So if you're watching, give the lads a shout. What key traits are you looking for? Make this a job advertisement. What key traits do they need? Good sense of humor, anyway. First of all.
Yeah, that's a big one. We need smiles here in Cavan.
Yeah. And preferably living near enough to you that you can actually meet up and stuff. So
that's the issue. There isn't too many. A lot of musicians, but not too many metalheads in this neck of the woods, unfortunately.
Yeah. Sure, look, as I said, there's also lads doing double duties with other bands, so I'm sure if you were really stuck, that could be an option for you to explore.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we've a couple of friends, even like Peter out of Building Prisons was saying, like, if we really needed a guitarist to set in, he'll just do it anytime, you know, or whatever. So it is kind of, we have options there, you know, but of course, I'd always just like another member, though, you know, someone who you can actually write music with. And
well, but a release this strong, Jesus, lads, you know, I don't think he should have any problems, especially when it hits the general public. It's so good. It's blown my mind. Honestly, it has. And so you don't think you have any gigs coming up that you can say at the moment?
There's one in Germany, in Berlin, in March of next year.
Okay.
That's the only one that's booked in, and I'm talking to 3 other promoters in Germany at the moment. So we're going to set up some stuff for next summer, I'd say, realistically, you know.
Okay.
But I'd say but pretty much that's it, to be honest with you. Really haven't pushed it too hard, like, you know.
So this year, because music's back with a bang, I think everything's been booked up so far.
That's very much true. Yeah.
Which is great to see. Don't get me wrong. Right, delighted the gigs are back,
and people buying tickets like 3 years ago and only seeing the band like fucking a month ago. You know,
I've missed out.
It's just been insane. You know.
I do you know what I like? Some indie stuff as well. I don't mind saying it. Echo and the Bunnymen. I had tickets bought for that, man. And they fucking played there in February, and it was in March. I was just looking through. I still have a fucking Judas Priest and Ozzy Osbourne ticket, like.
Yeah.
And then I saw Echo and the Bunnymen and went, oh, cool. That must be coming up. And then it was on in February. I was just going, fuck, missed it.
Just
too many tickets bought, and then losing track of these rescheduled gigs all the time.
Crazy.
I know. Usually, most years you'd already kind of decide what gigs like are, you know, you're going to go to or something. But it was like there was a few people like Alanis Morissette and people like that that I literally found out on the night by people putting it up in their stories on Instagram and stuff that she was even playing.
Yeah.
And I didn't know about it at all. I was like, Jesus Christ, how did that one get under the radar, you know? But yeah, it was a case of like her meant to be playing like fucking 3 years ago. Everyone bought their tickets, you know. But it happened to way too many gigs. Like, it was crazy, like, you know.
And have you a solo album still in the works, Praetorian?
Yeah, the Etiquette one actually. We're kind of. Well, we're not really. We were kind of we were working on it for a couple of months, and then it's went on the back burner. But that has a couple of we've a good few songs ready for that. Like, you know, it'll again though. That's something that we just love doing. Like, if we're working on it for another 10 years and it's never released, I don't really care. It's more just I really love the writing side of it, and you know, Tyrith loves the mixing and recording the whole thing, and he's got so many new programs that he's wanting to figure out how to work. So I'm a great guinea pig for him, you know.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So the album is coming out, Drown in Ash, on September the 30th. What formats can we expect?
CD. It's coming out all digital and stuff, like all the usual.
I'm fucking getting it on CD. And, thank you for thinking about the old folks. Fair play to you.
Yeah.
I know you need a physical CD.
Yeah, that's great news for me anyway. That's coming out in CD, so it'll be out in digital. There'll be a line of merch with it.
Yeah, we got T-shirts are on the way. They've all like loads of new patches printed, stickers printed, badges printed. We've everything pretty much here, but we're just kind of waiting. It's all up in Bandcamp, but we're still just kind of waiting until the 30th to really start pushing it with the album and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the T-shirts are on the way, and we've gotten a couple of other prints that we want to get kind of done as well. Like, so there'll be kind of a couple of T-shirts this time around.
Yeah. Well, this episode will be out on the 30th anyway, the day of the album launch. So
yeah.
So anything else that you want to say, be sure to. Don't leave it out now, lads.
Yeah. Jesus, no, I think I've waffled enough. I'm sick of my own voice at this stage. You know.
Yeah.
No, there's nothing else I can think. Like, swear to yourself, of course. Like, thanks a million for doing this. Really appreciate it. Like, it's.
I'm glad I can promote this because, as I said, congratulations. This is a contender for the Irish Metal Album of the Year, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear. Thanks so much.
You've knocked it out of the park, and so check out Eternal Helcaraxe on Bandcamp. Would that be the easiest place to find you?
Spotify, I suppose.
Spotify, of course.
YouTube and all those kind of usual kind of places.
Okay, so Praetorian and Tyrith, thanks a million for coming on the show. Crucially, everybody, support your local metal scene and check out Eternal Helcaraxe's new album, Drown in Ash, is coming out the day of this show, September the 30th. Thanks, lads.
Thank
you very much,
man.
Cheers.
Cool.